Chances are you've been there, signing a will, a mortgage, maybe a power of attorney, and you see that person with the official stamp and seal. But have you ever stopped to think, what do they actually do? Well, here's the thing. There's this huge gap between what most of us think they do and what their job really is. So let's clear up that confusion, shall we? So let's put you in that exact moment. You are at the finish line with a super important document. You're ready to sign. The person sitting across from you pulls out that official-looking stamp. What is their actual job right then and there? What are they checking? And maybe more importantly, what are they totally ignoring? And that very question, it leads us right into what I like to call the notary confusion. It's all about that space between our assumptions and the real specific responsibilities. Most of us see that official seal and we think, great, this document is now 100% correct and legally perfect. But as we're about to find out, that's a massive misunderstanding. The reality of what a notary does is way more focused than that.
All right, so to really bust through that confusion, we have to go back to basics. We need to get absolutely crystal clear on what a notary's core job actually is. Now look at this definition. The two phrases that really jump out are impartial witness and prevent fraud. See, a notary isn't there to take your side or give you advice or help you make decisions. Their entire reason for being there is to be a neutral third party whose presence helps stop people from committing fraud. It's that simple. So how do they do that? How do they prevent fraud? Well, it pretty much boils down to these 4 steps. First, they check your ID, making sure you are who you say you are. Second, they confirm you're signing willingly, that no one's twisting your arm. Third, they do a quick check on your awareness just to be sure you get that you're signing something important. And finally, step 4, they watch you sign it. That's it. That is the heart of the job. Okay, so we've covered what they do. Now for what I think is the most important part, busting some myths about what their job isn't. This is where almost all the confusion comes from. Let's dig into what notaries absolutely, positively cannot do. Let me say this as clearly as I can, because it's the biggest myth of them all. A notary public is not an attorney. They are strictly 100% forbidden from giving any kind of legal advice. Period. It doesn't matter if they've notarized 1,000 documents just like yours.
And this lays out the difference perfectly. A notary's job is to witness your signature on, say, a will. Their job is not to give you advice on what you should probably put in that will. That is a huge line in the sand that they just cannot cross.
And here's another big one. The notary confirms that you are you. They are not confirming that the information, the facts, or the clauses inside that document are true or legally correct. The stuff in the document, that's all on you. I find it helps to think of it this way. A notary public shows up at the very end of the process. They are there for the execution, the signing ceremony itself. They play absolutely no part in the creation or the drafting of things like wills, trusts, or any other legal paperwork. Okay, so let's look at a real-world example to see how all these rules actually work in practice. The state of Florida has some pretty specific regulations for its notaries that actually highlight these principles perfectly. So for example, in Florida, notaries can do something called remote online notarization, or RON, which uses audio-video tech. Pretty cool. They can also administer oaths, which is where they formally ask you to swear that what's in the document is true. But notice, these are still tasks about the process, not about giving advice. Oh man. This right here, this is probably one of the most dangerous misconceptions people have. You see that stamp and you just assume, okay, this document is now totally ironclad. But that is just not how it works. And here's exactly why. A lot of important documents, especially wills, have very specific, strict legal rules about who needs to be a witness and how they need to sign. A notary's seal does not automatically replace those witnesses. So you could have a will that's been notarized, but it's still legally worthless because it wasn't witnessed correctly. So knowing all that, just imagine asking a notary this question. You might think it's a simple, innocent question, right? But what you're really doing is asking for a legal opinion on the document's contents, which, as we know, they are forbidden to give. Or even worse, this one. This is so direct. When you ask a notary, hey, what should I put in this blank? You are explicitly asking them to help you create the document and give you advice. And that puts both of you in a really tough and honestly a potentially illegal spot.
So let's pull all this together. I want to completely reframe how you think about a notary. Think of this as your final checkpoint for really understanding their true purpose.
Honestly, the absolute best way to think of a notary is as the final checkpoint. They're not the guide who helped you draw the map or pick your destination. Nope. They're the official who checks your ID at the gate right before you get on the plane. So, look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. A notary's job is to check your ID and watch you sign something to help prevent fraud. Their role is absolutely not to give you legal advice or check your facts or help you write the document. Getting that difference is everything. Just remember, the responsibility for all the decisions, the structure, and the actual content of your documents, that falls on you or on the lawyer you're working with. A notary is just there to make sure the signing itself is done with integrity. So the next time you need that official stamp, you'll walk in with total confidence, knowing exactly what's going on. Now you know the rules. So, are you prepared for your signature?